Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'm going to pair up the Sweet Jar bundle with the Sweet Jar Builder Punch. The Jar Builder Punch, I think it is. I don't know if Sweet's on it in there, but it is a bundle that is in the online exclusives, and I am going to show it with because I was looking through some paper and found the sweet paper from the Meant to Be paper. It's right here. I can find the name of it. It is called the Be Mine paper. It's the Be Mine paper. It had all those. It was current a while ago. I mean, it's still current with the Bee Builder Punch and etc. But I pulled it out because I loved the jars here with the hearts and the jars that are in the Sweet Jar bundle. So let me show you how I made this circle flip card. Isn't that fun? Ta-da, ta-da. There we go. Super simple to make. Let's take a look there. Let me get out my pieces here. I started with the black card base. And my black card base is just 8.5 by 5.5. And I'm going to put this here, scored it at 4 1/4. So that is going to be, and this is my valley and this is my mountain that has the bump. I like to fold in towards the bump, and you always get a clean edge that's the same. Like, do you ever have that little tiny part and you're like, I scored this right, why did that happen? Always fold into the mountain. Okay, so there is our piece of black for our card base. Now the inside of it is going to be a little different. We're going to cut down a piece of white cardstock to a width of 8 and 5 1/4 tall. So 8, 5 1/4, and we're going to score it at 2.5, 4.5, and 6. 2.5. Whoop. Oh no, 2. I'm doing it wrong. I wonder why that looked wrong to me. It's at 2.5, 4.5, and 6. Okay, 2.5, 4.5, 6. Okay, and this. After I'm doing this for a class, and after I cut it, I had to sit there and play with it to know exactly what I was doing with it. So this piece here that's going to be on these two edges here, you're going to be putting into these two spaces. So if you put the 2.5 is going to be the part that's going to go get adhered to your card here. So the 2.5 section is going to be going down here. And then this is going to fold. Whenever you go to do this, this is what I was doing. You're going to fold here. Actually, if you play around with it, there we go. Okay, so you kind of want to do it this way. It is a little confusing. So put your 2.5 side down here, and then fold it only that one time whenever you go to adhere this down to your card, okay? But before we do that, we're going to fill in these two middle sections here. So this middle section here is, let's just be for sure, 1.5. So that's going to be 1 1/4. And this section is 2, so it's 1 3/4. So I just added those together and got 3. And then I'm going to cut that down to 1 1/4. 1 1/4. Now I want to double check myself. Yep, 1 1/4. So I'm going to cut it down to 1 1/4 using my dart cutting blade. And then the other piece that falls off is 1 3/4. So those are going to be the two pieces that fit in here. So let's just go ahead and put those in there. There we go. And, oh, I hated to use that side. Oop, we just ran out of Stampin' Seal. That's okay, our trusty glue is here. Now you're saying, Cindy, trusty glue, you always have trouble with your glue. That's why I was trying to use a Stampin' Seal. So we're putting this 1 3/4 wide in that 2-inch space here, okay? So that is the way your card goes. Now, whenever you adhere it, you're going to be seeing it this way. But before we do any adhering, we're going to do some stamping right here in the inside. And I put here, I used the jar from the Sweet Jar stamp set. And then I used Sending a Little Sweetness Your Way. But then I used the bee from the Meant to Be. I used the smaller bee, and then I put it in there. So we are just going to do that right now. We're going to use Daffodil for our bee body. And before we do that, though, we're going to make the bee trail, okay? Not bee tail, but the bee trail. That's the little buzzy buzz that goes from his little behind. So, or actually, you know what we can do? We could just do the bee first, okay? I'm going to put the bee right there. And then I'm going to use the little stripes, make them black. Oh, don't want to shake the table for you. And see if I can get that on there. There we go. We got the little stripes. We're going to give him some antenna right off of his head there. And give him a little smiley face. There we go. There's our little bee. He's so cute. Okay, now we're going to do that bee trail. And I'm just going to try to get that right coming from his little stinger. There we go. And then we're going to do the stamping from the Sweet Jar. Sending a Little Sweetness Your Way. So we're going to stamp that up there. Sending a little. And then we're going to use, and I use Sweet Sorbet, a retired color, because the Sweet Sorbet is the color that is actually in the DSP. Sending a Little Sweetness Your Way. And since we're being sweet, we might as well just put some pretty little hearts there too. So that's there in the inside, and we're going to adhere that down, okay? Okay, so that goes against the left side of the card, getting a 1/8 inch border top, bottom, and side. And remember, this was your 2.5 inch side, and then we had 2 inches and 1.5 inches, and we just filled those in with the DSP. So then this is going to go this way, but we're going to have to cut a circle on the front of our card. So that's why we probably shouldn't have done that, but it's okay. We still have room to do that. I don't know why I started doing it that way. Oh, silly girl. Okay, let me get the paper out for that. So even though I started off, I got a little excited about it all, it won't matter because I can still I only have to die cut this part. So I put the pretty jars down on the bottom, and I could actually, if you put glue the whole way around, you're going to get a piece when you cut out that has the DSP on, which actually is quite attractive, and you could use it on another card. I'll show you. But if you wanted to, I should have showed you if you did it the other way. See, when I cut mine out of there, I ended up with this gets cut out. Now I'm going to end up putting, I did something wrong, but this is what it would look like. But if you don't put glue here and here under the paper, these pieces will fall off. But these would have been useless without that. So I just went ahead and left it that way. So then I put this piece here on the top, and that just has the bee and the hearts. I have a little bit of fuzzy there. Okay, put that, the 1/8 inch border. And why did I pick that? Because it ends up, oh, here's my little, it ends up that you can cut your paper and get more pieces out of it if you cut it at 2 and 3 than if you would have butted it up and had an 1/8 or a 1/4. So it just gives a nice break there. So then what we're going to do is, you can see here, I have to cut that circle out. But in order to do that, I need to get the dies, which I put over in a box. And where is that circle? Here it is. Here's the circle. Okay. Here's my circle I'm going to use to cut out that circle. And there is just not a table big enough for me. So you're going to want to cut that out. And I would suggest, if you want it to stay really, really in place, well, you could go ahead and tape it down. But you need to pick some type of, you could make this a square, an oval, or a circle. Okay, but I'm going to die cut that and run it through my Big Shot over here. And I thought I was going to, I would have it already cut out, but I had forgotten. So I'm just cutting out the circle, and Stampin' Jesus was looking out for me. And even though I did the inside of the card, which some of my girls will do, I know it, they like to hurry and get their things done. They will end up doing this, but I'll be like, no, you can still make the card if you just run it halfway. So see, if I would have not glued down here and here, these would have fallen off, but then you couldn't use them. Where this, you could use this really cute as a tag or something. So there's your circle. Now I'm going to show you how we put this together. So when you go to fold this down, make sure you're just seeing a blank section and then your 1.5 section that has the 1 1/4 DSP. And you're going to put glue just where you can see here. Okay, you don't want to put it over here. Just on around here, okay? Because you're going to be putting your circle gets adhered to this piece that pops up there. So you're going to put glue just in the corners here. And right along this edge. Okay, so no glue here. No glue in this section. Just like that, okay? And then you will be putting your piece in here. Now, what I did on my card that I made a mistake when I did it is I glued it on this side. So when I glued it, I put the glue on this side and then popped my jar in there. I could not get the glue off there. So I just threw on a piece of the, a circle piece of that same DSP, but you don't have to do that. And I'm going to show you because I don't have that piece, but I do believe I put it in my class's kits. So if you make that mistake and you glue on your piece to the wrong side, you can put on some of that to cover it up, okay? So this is where just think of it this way. When you're going to put it together, think of it as, aw, I'm covering up that pretty DSP, but that's the right way to do it. So then I did a Sweet Sorbet circle, and you can use any circle set you have. And then I put a inside black so the jar would pop off. Okay, there we go. So that gave me my other color there. And then we are going to stamp our jar. So we just have to grab a little piece of white over here and stamp our jar. So we're gonna get that jar out here that I thought I had it mounted, and we're going to stamp it in black. Another thing too, when you are working with dies, sometimes people, if they put it down and they get it scrunched up, if you're finding that problem, just make sure when you're putting down a stamp, you just touch it and let it fall down on its own into the correct way it was made. Because these are, our hands can stretch them, and then all of a sudden you think your die is not working right or your punch isn't working right, when actually we weren't working right. So there is our jar. And we also want to do the little lid as well. And here's my lid. There we go. I'm gonna pop. I asked my daughter if the lid should have been petal pink to add it in, and she said, no, I think it should be black. And I'm like, okay. Okay, so let me put that with my jar there, and then I'm gonna show you how that punch works. Here, I'm gonna pop that little jar lid right there. There's my lid. And then here, oh, I think we can pop it out and oh, we've got our punch there. Jar fits there, and then we will put our pretty little hearts in there in Sweet Sorbet. Okay, the hearts in Sweet Sorbet. And if I recall, I think my Sweet Sorbet needed re-inked because it had been sitting, and they just fit right in there. And you just pop them right in there. And I think I might have to see if I can do it one more time. I should have re-inked this. See if I was right on spot. That looks goofy. Well, you should re-ink your thing before you do it. So anyhow, you're gonna pop this up, put the lid up, pop it up on dimensionals, tie a little twine bow on the top, and isn't that adorable? Quick little circle flip. I would suggest, now I'm going to redo this, guys, because I don't like this. It looks like somebody was seeing dizzy. This needs re-inked. Can you believe, though, I actually stamped this one 2 times and I got right perfect on. But anyhow, you are going to start out with your white being 8 inches, and you're scoring it at 2.5, 4.5, and 6. And then the 2.5 inch section goes here. And then you just put a 1 3/4, 1 1/4 to fill in those. And then the last piece is the part that gets attached to the card. But it will be tricky once you get all the pieces cut and you'll feel like, I did it right. How am I doing this wrong? Just remember, when you go to close the card, it closes when you're adhering it down. You'll only fold it once, and all of this will be flat. And then it gets glued on this side and opens back up. Okay, so if you have any questions with it, just like you can rewind it, you can stop, you can pause if I'm starting to get a little wordy and you just need to go back and see exactly what I was doing. But a really cute, simple card, but has a wow factor because of the opening this way, a circle flip card. I'm actually going to do another one that opens it up a different way. It's a circle flip one that it's going to really be cool. So I will be showing that one to you too. But sweet jar bundle, and paired that up with the Meant to Be stamp set and the Be Mine paper. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.